Welcome to the Say Yes Movement podcast with Heather and John, where we help you with your professional and personal growth, helping you say yes to all the scary stuff. Hey, Heather, how's it going?
It's going good, John. What are we talking about today? There's so many ideas that are swimming in my head and so many questions that have been asked recently of the
Mhm.
two of us, especially as we wind down the year. There's just so many places we can go. So today is a choose our own adventure for the
Oh
conversation.
man, I love that. I love choosing my own adventure because you never know where you're gonna end up. So it's all
Exactly.
good.
Exactly. Actually, you know what, John? I'd love to share something that happened this week that's been on my mind in an interesting way, and I've sort of been absorbing it. So I might be actually working through it as we talk live on the podcast. But
All right.
we're both teaching at school, and one of the assignments that I asked my students to do as sort of a course end reflection, because we do reflections
Mhm.
everywhere we go, whether it be year end, month end, weekend. And what I asked is, what was the most difficult part of not just the course, but their semester and coming to school? And what I uncovered as they submitted their one page stories, and it was a very personal assignment, was what it's like to be a student. I was able
Mhm.
to transform myself in the eyes of my students, but also being an international student, because I think 100% of my classes are international. But in the workplace, this same thing happens. So what I'm going to share, what I've been sort of looking at, is how does this show up in the workplace and in different cultures, and what my students share, and of course with staying confidential, is that being in classes and in a new country is lonely. Mental health is tough. Their
Mhm.
workload was tough. Learning a different language, learning different cultural norms, all of this is overwhelming for the students. And I was like, wow, like, first of all, I'm so grateful that they shared that intimate detail with me, but it really gave me the power to say, all right, how can I, as a boss, as a professor, as a teacher, as a leader, as a podcast host, actually help bring awareness to this in a new way? And John, you have a lot of international students, and I know
Mhm.
you've gotten similar feedback. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because there's so much that we can do in all of those locations to help bring this melting pot of amazing new immigration to Canada, but help people feel like they're at home and that they're bringing their whole selves to wherever they are.
Yeah, no, I think you touched on something very important. It's something that's impacting a lot of not just students, but newcomers to the country, right? Like, and
Mm,
I've seen that, even with the work I've been doing over the last, since 2015, in and around, getting people into work in this country. Um, the first step, and I think you kind of hit it on the nail, is just be curious, right? Like,
mm,
just ask the questions, ask them, how are you doing, right? Some of them are, they kind of, they don't share that with people. They, unless they're asked, right? Like normally, and for the most part, I think as people, we don't share things until people ask us. And even if they do
mm-hmm.
ask us, they got to ask us once or twice, maybe three times before we're like, yeah, you know what? This is what's actually going on, right? So creating a safe space where they're not going to feel like they're being judged when they say something, right? Like I think that's important, and that doesn't matter if you're at school or if you're in the workplace, but just create an environment where you're curious, where you're asking the question. So how's it going?
I
Right.
love the simplicity of this, John, and I love the other extra piece, and I want our listeners to hear this again, because it's so important. Ask how you're doing, but don't just
Mm,
ask once. People will give you the first, surface answer, and look them in the eye and say, really, how are you doing? And this is a time when people are thinking about their families. This might be a Christmas or a holiday season that they're going through without a loved one. You have no idea what people have gone through, and just having them feel supported. And if you're in person, here's a really powerful tool that you want to use. And as you say those words, look into their right eye. Just
mhm.
look into their right eye with soft eyes. And it sounds like, well, Heather, what's that going to do? It's going to create a open channel between the two of you in a nonverbal communication path that is so powerful. It will make them take a deep breath. It'll help them feel comfortable and in in a safe space. And that's what we want to create for people, whether it be in school or in work or even in your friend group. Like
Mm,
even with your family. My goodness, why would I
yeah.
leave my family out? Where everyone is feeling it right now, and it got activated by the assignment that I gave them, and the true, like, their heart was poured out on these pages, and I get to see them today or tomorrow, and just give them gratitude for that, because this is a real life experience, and they've chosen it. They planted those seeds, but that is it comes with some other hardships. So
Yeah, listen, it's one thing to choose a path, but it's one to think that it's actually going to be more difficult and more challenging than you thought it would be. And
mm,
listen, it doesn't matter what journey we go on. Both you and I, there's been moments this year where things were like, not always peachy. I forget what the expression is right now, but peachy keen. There's moments where things get challenging, right? And we're lucky. Like, I'm lucky that I have you to bounce things off of. From an ideas perspective. Hey, what do you think? So I have that, right? And I'm fortunate
mm,
I have that with you. I have that with my wife. I got that with the people around me, even with the kids at dinner time. But some people don't have that. And, going back to what you said, a lot of people who are new to the country, they feel lonely,
I
right?
feel lonely.
They're
Yeah.
like, and there's that moment, right? Because you made the investment to come here. You made the investment to leave your home, wherever that home is, to create a better life for yourself. And then you get here, and then, what's going to happen is those doubts, those fears are going to pop up. It's like, am I doing the right thing? Right. And
Mm,
it's funny you say that, because there's a friend of mine whose daughter who's here now. And, she's originally from one of the islands, and she's at that point where, she's fully into her career. She's into her first role in Canada. And she's like, I don't know if I want to do this. This is tough. Like, there's
tough.
commute, there's culture, there's different ways of being. And, what ends up happening is, that thought, should I just go back? Should I just go back home?
Mm,
But this is your new home, right? And
yeah.
here's the implication for all of you that are listening in. This is home, right? Like, this is what you've decided to be your home. And there's a reason why you're here. So the other thing I want to add to, what we're talking about here is just go back to your why, right?
Mm,
It doesn't matter if you're in your goal, if you're on a journey, if you're going through something, go back to your why. Why did you make this move in the first place? Unless you're one of those spontaneous people that just like, hey, let's just go do this, which, I'm kind of like that person sometimes with certain things. But, go back to your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you here? Why did you decide to leave your country to come here to Canada? What drew you here?
hmm
And
And whether it's you came as a student or you brought your family over or whatever that looks like, this is the same experience coming to, leaving your home and then coming to a new place. And there was one share that happened, John, where the person shared in their home country that in a school setting, the professors don't ask for feedback, and don't
mm,
have, the group work wasn't the norm. And so they actually said they had to observe for the first semester before they could catch on. I thought, wow, I've seen that show up in the workplace where people are really quiet or reserved or don't know that they can actually talk or that we want them to talk. So you keep that in mind as you're a leader, as you have, a melting pot of different people coming to your team. They're bringing with them their beliefs and norms from where they live, and their
mhm.
norms are not our norms, and you won't know what their norms are or how they differ unless you get curious and ask. So you can ask that question, is like, how is this different than at work, at home? How is this different than, what are you observing that's really neat that you've experienced since coming here? What have you experienced that's totally different and you had no idea that this is how it was going to be? And they have answers to all those
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, no, 100%. I saw that, right, when I was at work. And yeah, you're right. One of the things is just to be curious. So what's it really like, right? What's it like to, and here's, some of you might not know, but my own personal story is my parents were immigrants to this country, right? They
Mm,
weren't, I wasn't born, like, I was born and raised here, but they weren't. And for them, they were new, first generation, immigrants from where they came, which was Portugal, to Canada. And it was different for them too, right? And so here's the thing. And I just want to share this with everybody. And I think this is incredibly important. And this is one of the things I try to facilitate when I'm in a room with a diverse audience. Like, connect with other people in the room that are not part of your background, part of your culture. It's one thing to be in that safe space where it's like, okay, well, we have the same language, we have the same values, we have the same understanding. I don't think that's where the growth lies. The growth is in mingling. And actually, that's been, for me, one of the key things is mingling with people from different backgrounds and different cultures and different religions, just everything, like a giant melting pot. This is what makes Canada so beautiful, is that we can connect and integrate with anybody if we want to.
Yeah.
But the most, even, and what I saw with my parents, and, for them, they stayed in their own community. Like, it was funny because I'm thinking about it now, but there's people in their community that have been here for like 40, 50 years and don't even know how to speak English because there was never a need for it, right? Like, you kind of think, well, like, how do you go 50 years without speaking English? Yeah.
It's really hard. I love what you said is, integrate into the community and get curious. But, one of the exercises that I love to do in any group is find 3 things that you have in common. And, if you are a leader of a team, you've just joined a team, you want everyone to get to know each other, just give them that exercise and give them 10 minutes of talking, and they will explore, their favorite foods, their favorite travel, their favorite, do they have pets? Do they have kids? Where do they want to travel? And people, the energy of the room, every time I do this exercise, and I know, John, you love doing this too, the energy it starts off really, really quiet, and then it just starts elevating as they find more and more in common activities. And that's the key to community, is finding a commonality, something that you all say, I stand for that, I value that. And having a community means that all of those angst that we talked about at the beginning, mental health, feeling alone, especially for people that have immigrated from another country, you're not phoning home and saying, oh, I'm really lonely. You don't want to stress out your family back there. So then you feel even more lonely because you have no one to talk to. So, if you are someone that influences people, this is the time to check in with them. If you are a person that has friends, if you're a person that has family, I guess what I'm talking to every single person out there, this is the time to get curious and to care and to show love, because everyone needs that. And I'll tell you, John, this happens every time, right? We talk in our heads, we message them, we video message them, we do something, and we always get the same message back. How did you know I needed to hear that right now? And today is the day that you send those messages. And today's the day because, well, why not? Why not today? It should be every day. And this is a rule. It's a non-negotiable that both of us have. But, for those of you that this is sort of out of the norm, do that check-in today. Do that check-in with someone.
And I'm sure as you're saying this, somebody's thinking about a name right now, right? Okay, so who can I okay, I want to reach out to this person.
Do it while we're listening, as long as you're not driving, right?
Yeah. As long as you're not driving. Just, even a short little voice note, right? Like, I do that all the time. Like, the one thing I love when I'm doing my commutes in the car, wherever I'm going, is I will do my voice notes, right? I'll just, I don't want to say it now, but I can activate my phone to just say, hey, take a voice note, send it to this person. And I don't even have to touch anything, which is so cool, technology, right? But yeah, I know, as soon as they pop into your head, it's because there's a connection, right? There's something called the 12 universal laws. And one of the first law is really the divine law of oneness. And we're all connected one way or another. So when that person's popping into your head, it's because they're thinking of you too. Right? Because actually you've seen it, I've seen it. And it's like, how did you know I was thinking about you? Right? Actually, Diane and I, we do that quite a bit when we're going back and forth. I'll call her and she's like, I was just about to pick up the phone to call you. I'm like, well, it's because we're all connected, right? So connected. Yeah, just, take the time and just do that reach out. Sometimes the littlest note, right, can really change somebody's, emotions, how they're feeling. And, especially going into the holidays, you think it's all about celebration and festivities. And yes, it's about that. But there are people who are feeling really, really sad, like just down in the dumps at this point in the year, right? And it doesn't take a lot, right? Yeah. Just, hey, how's it going? Just thinking about you. What's going on? How's life, right? And then, at least that'll initiate that conversation. because you're not alone. Nobody's alone. Nobody has to be alone.
Nobody has to be alone. Exactly.
Nobody has to be alone.
And as we're the universe sent you a
Somebody's thinking about me right now.
That is almost perfection in the
timing.
Man. I love it when we forget to turn off our technology before we're live recording, John, but that's okay. This is a true example of, we have to stay connected. And, if you're feeling lonely, this is the time to reach out. So I know this is like a public service announcement, but I think it's an important, especially this time of year. And also, if you want to be part of a community, if you want to just establish a community that is like-minded and wants to achieve big things, we have the places you need to be. And it's next week, next Thursday, for our goal setting and reflection workshop. And we're going to be showing you the tips and the actual process that we go through ourselves on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis, to set ourselves for the best success. But also, we don't do this process alone. We do this with as many of you that want to join us, because we know the power of community. So this is not just about a moment in time. This is about setting up the success of your entire life. And John, I am so excited about that workshop, because we are pulling out some activities that we haven't shared with our audience yet. We do it ourselves, but we've never shared with our audience. So that is super, super exciting.
Yeah, and I've just included a link there. So if you want to just pop in and check it out, you register today. Listen, it's not going to cost you anything to join us on that day. But we'd love to have you there, right? Because the one thing I'm incredibly, we're taking what we've done this year. So these are all things that we've put into practice. These are things that we know work, because it's gotten us to where we are. But it is going to be different. It's going to be different. It's going to be different. And you might be asking, well, why, how can it be that much different from other workshops? Well, it is going to be different because we're bringing our neuro-linguistic programming into it as part of the exercise. We're going to take you through some visualization exercises. We're going to take you to places that it's going to hit right here, right? And when you're working from here, what's the line from Tony Robbins? When you're in your heart, you're smart. When you're in your head, you're dead. And a lot of times, a lot of times we operate from our heads. We're thinking about logic. We're thinking about the how. And when you come from your heart, things are coming intuitively to you. You know the right steps. You don't need to know the how, because the vision, the goal is so big and so strong that it's going to take you exactly to where you want to be. And this is why I'm so excited for this workshop, because we're going to get into here. Yeah. When we get into here, this kind of will follow, right? And we'll talk about the stick man in the workshop as well. So you're going to get a bit of an idea of how this all works, how our mind works, how our body works, and how it really impacts the goal that you want to achieve. Am I saying too much? Maybe I should just stop there.
No. It's good. It's good, because as you're saying it, I'm processing I'm already active. You're activating already in my brain. What is it that is so big it scares me for 2024? Because that is what we want to do. We're planting these seeds right now so that you are thinking about it and you're coming prepared on Thursday to declare a goal that scares you, but you're going to say yes anyways, and we will help you get there. That is the most amazing part. No one is alone in this process.
Yeah, no one is alone, and we're going to guide you through it. And if you, with your permission, we'd love to be your guides as you go through this. I really take 2024 to a whole new level, right? I can't even, if you told me in January I'd be sitting here right now doing this, I'd be like, I don't know. But we did have a vision. Our vision impact 1 million people.
Exactly.
Right? And that's the only vision we've been holding on to. And everything that we step into this year, everything we have stepped into this year has all been about that. Yeah. And that's been the driver for us. So yeah, I'm super excited to bring this to the world and share that workshop with everybody. So cool.
Awesome. So the link is in the notes. You can go on, connect with us. If you're not on our newsletter, send us a note. We'll get you added as well, because we want you to get updates when we have new podcast launches and also all of the workshops. So make sure that you are joining us for everything that is Say Yes in 2024. John, it's time.
It's time. Heather, what's our takeaway? Take it home. What's our
takeaway? Sign up for the workshop and to reach out to someone today to tell them that they matter.
Yes, excellent. I love that. Actually, as soon as I get off this call, I'm going to reach out and talk to somebody who just reached out to me, which is cool. Yeah, with that, and thank you for listening into this episode of the Say Yes Movement podcast. Just remember, when you shift your mindset, you shift your life. Wishing you all a great one. See you all soon. Take care.